It's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it was 72 to this day. And well, don't you guys have to go? Yeah. You can. Yeah. And they were.
What is that? That should be what's that.
All right, folks, it's 7 o'clock. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we can start with a moment of silence, please. We're gonna stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. As a reminder, if you have a cell phone on you, please make sure that it's either off or on silent. City Clerk Domingo, you'll take roll call first, please.
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed, Jackson,
Here.
Lawler, Davis,
Here.
French,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve of the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Right, we'll start off this evening with our presentations and recognitions. Ebony, yeah, I see Ebony. Is Mr. Berry going to be with you tonight?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with a proclamation honoring the 2023 Red Ribbon Week. Whereas Red Ribbon Week is an alcohol, tobacco, smoking, and other drug and violence prevention awareness campaign that will be observed October 23rd through the 31st, 2023. It is the nation's largest and longest running drug awareness and prevention program. And whereas the Red Ribbon serves as a catalyst to mobilize communities to educate youth and encourage participation in drug prevention activities. Whereas we celebrate Red Ribbon Week to honor the sacrifices of those brave souls like Kiki Camarena, a special agent who was assigned to Guadalajara, Mexico office and was instrumental in helping to solve the drug pipeline of the most notorious drug traffickers. Upon his death on February 7th, 1985, Congressman Duncan Hunter organized Red Ribbon Week. People, especially children, wore red ribbons and pledged to live a drug-free life. Nancy Reagan brought national attention to the program, and it is celebrated throughout the country. Whereas a pledge for children includes, I pledge to stay in school and learn the things that I need to know. I pledge to make the world a better place for kids like me to grow. I pledge to keep my dreams alive and be all that I can be. And I pledge to help others and to keep myself drug-free. And whereas a parent's pledge includes, we will talk with our children about the dangers of drug abuse. We will set clear rules for our children about not using drugs. We will set a good example for our children about not using illegal drugs or misusing prescription drugs. We will monitor our children's behavior and enforce appropriate consequences so that our rules are respected. We will encourage family and friends to follow the same guidelines to keep their children safe from drug abuse. I pledge to set guidelines to help children grow up safe, healthy, and drug-free. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Victoria Garcia Snyder, Mayor on behalf of the Albion City Council, do proclaim October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week and urge all Albion citizens to make a commitment to live a drug-free life. So Ms. Ebony, would you like to come up and give us some information about if there's any events or programs that'll be going on during this week in the community?
Good evening. I work at the middle school, I'm the secretary there, and this will be the first time that Red Ribbon Week has been brought back to the middle school. And Mr. Bonner asked me to chair that, and so far we have 13 kids signed up to either tie ribbons or help with whatever we are going to do for that week. Mr. Bonner is just now getting me on board and making plans on what we're gonna do for that week, but it will be brought back to the middle school this year.
Awesome. Well, I hope that the programming that you have planned is impactful and that will allow to grow in future years to come. And I share with you at the helm at the middle school, because that way also.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next, do I have Betty Nora? And Betty, do you have others with you from the Daughters of the American Revolution?
Yes.
Okay, come on. So this is the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution Proclamation. And this is for family literacy. Whereas National Family Literacy Day, established by the 103rd Congress in 1994, and now marking the 29th anniversary on November 1st, 2023, highlights the importance of reading and learning for the entire family and emphasizes the impact that parents have on their children's learning. And whereas this day is celebrated across America each year and focuses on special activities and events that showcase the importance of family literacy programs that empower families and build a nation of readers. And whereas literacy programs across the United States will observe National Family Literacy Day by holding readathons, book drives, workshops, and family activities at schools, libraries, and community centers to encourage literacy. And whereas as many as 1 in 6 adults struggle with reading and writing. And by learning to read, individuals can gain self-respect and confidence and strive toward goals that otherwise would not be achievable. And whereas the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution is a nonprofit, non-political volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children and adults. And whereas education being one of the cornerstones of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Hannah Tracy Gant chapter is committed to increasing literacy by promoting and supporting literacy programs. National Family Literacy Day, to underscore the importance of literacy, celebrate the joy of reading, encourage residents to promote literacy by reading together as a family, and to extend deep appreciation to our local libraries, educators, and literacy services providers for their tireless efforts to strengthen the literacy of our children in our community. Done this day on November 1st, 2023 in Albion, Michigan. Now therefore, I, Mayor Victoria Garcia Snyder, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the City of Albion, do here proclaim November 1st as National Family Literacy Day in Albion. So, Nora, if you and your group would like to give us some information on the history of this day, and if there's any programming or services that are going to be provided in the community, that would be great to know.
We're just planning to go forward with the schools and, I know, we're going to be very actively doing this. This has been going on in DAR for many, many years, but this local chapter is moving forward in our community very aggressively.
Any other comments? No, thank you. All right, you're very welcome. Happy to be a part of this celebration.
You want to get a picture?
Yes. No, she goes. Would like to receive this. She's our chairman. No, you stand after me as well. Please.
Thank you all for being here tonight to receive the proclamations.
Thank you, guys.
We do have one more that's not on the agenda. Chief Kip has a new officer that we would like to introduce.
Not really an officer, but. Yeah. What do you?
Let's be a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Officer Braun. He is a Dutch Shepherd. Officer Riley has been bugging me for a couple years now for a canine officer. And so we did it, we had officers submit applications to become our canine officer. We had 2 submit for it. The decision was made for Officer Riley to get the canine. Officer Riley over the last year has raised over $18,000 to help pay for the dog and the equipment needed for the dog. So almost all of this has been paid for through donations or grants. We'll get him wherever we get a picture here in a minute. So Officer Riley's been with the department now for 7 years. So this is a good chance for him to try something different from being a regular patrol officer. The dog will live at Officer Riley's house and then come to work with him every day. He's trained as drug detection dog. What else?
Apprehension, drugs, and handler protection.
Yeah. So he's gone through what, 6 weeks of training? You've got 2 more to go still.
2 more weeks.
Yeah, this week and next week, and then he'll be certified and on the road. So, since our next council meeting is a couple weeks away from there, so I thought I'd bring it tonight. But I want to present Officer Riley and Braun with his badge. So, this is Officer Braun, or K9 Braun. Welcome to the city.
Yeah. You're going to work. That's beautiful.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Officer Riley, really good.
No problem.
All right, public comments. If there is anybody that would like to stand and address council in regards to a specific agenda item, you have the opportunity to do so at this time. You just need to come forward, state your name, address, and 3 minutes is yours.
Name's Terry at 919 North Ione, Albion. I'm here again about the property that we can pitch. I'm assuming that everybody read the email that I sent out to them, so they kind of know a little bit about what's going on with this. In the email that Mr. Dwyer sent, I correct quite a few things on there that were simply not correct. It is absolutely allowable, according to ordinances, to have a parking lot in R2 sections. I'm not asking for a parking lot, but it is allowable. So, and also, I'm assuming that everybody saw the drawing, and what I really want is just a driveway on it, but it has to, I assume, under the order of a parking lot just to get a special use permit for it. it appears that the zoning or the land bank is waiting for the city to finally say, we don't want the property and do something else with it. My talks with Krista, that's what she has come up with, is that we prefer to sell it to the city so they can build a house on it until they tell us no, we're not gonna do anything with it. So I'm here asking for you to please, consider that, telling them finally no, so that we can get on with this and not have it, it's already been on for 6 years. And allow us to do something with this. I mean, those two properties that were back there, have had a chance to be sold a couple different times. Once to me, there's also the gentleman where you're going to be putting the house, wanted that for a garage. The land bank does do these things. Down the road, they allowed a pole barn to go up. 1 block over, they allowed a garage to go up on an empty lot, but they don't seem to be wanting to help out with this particular lot at all. I don't know why, but I'm asking for your help with that. See if we can't finally get something done and get this over with once and for all. Thank you.
My name is Steve Ballman. I live at 103 East Michigan Avenue. And I am neighbor of Terry's. And my backyard butts up to this 310 Fitch Street lot that we've been talking about for years. And I have previously wrote a letter and expressed my position on having a parking lot right next to my backyard. And it's my opinion that I don't think a parking lot belongs in a residential section. I would hope to see a house there someday. And we have so much traffic on Michigan Avenue. We have the ambulance, the police, we have semis going back and forth all day long. And so we use our backyard as a refuge from the noise and, all the going on. It's the only place we have that's, not entirely surrounded by traffic. And to put a parking lot on the other side of our house, we'll just be surrounded with traffic all day long, I'm afraid of. So that's my opinion, and thank you for listening to me.
I'm Vicki Ott. I'm here about the 310 Fitch. Our first application was 6 years ago for the side lot program, and we did not want a parking lot. I don't know where the parking lot has come into play other than when the land bank asked us to do several things, and we did those. We jumped through all their hoops, and then they denied us. We only want a drop-off spot. We don't want 20-car parking lot. We just want a drive-in, drop-off, so our elderly and handicapped can come in the back door, and they don't have to struggle to get down the sidewalk from Michigan Ave. I invited our council member Vivian to come and visit our shop to see. I think she was quite surprised at what we do there. And I did have a handicapped elderly lady who was in her 90s, and she had a hard time getting down the sidewalk. And it was kind of ironic that she was there and she could witness it. So where this parking lot's coming from, I don't know, but that's not what we want. So if you can just take that into consideration, I'd appreciate that.
Anybody else like to stand and address council? All right, well, thank you all. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Say it back to me, Doug.
Councilmember Reed. Yes. Jackson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
French.
Yeah.
Williams.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. We'll adjourn the closed session, 7:19 p.m. City Clerk Dominguez will take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
French.
Here.
Williams. And Mayor Snyder.
Here. In your packet, we have the consent calendar items, our study session minutes and our regular session minutes from October 2nd. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Or
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next item is to approve our M&O membership. Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
City Manager Slater?
Yes, and so included in the packet is just a summary of the services that are provided through our MML membership. This is annual or renewal, so we are recommending approval so that we can maintain being members of the MML.
Do you have any questions or comments for City Manager Slater?
Councilmember Williams.
yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve of the city manager's employment agreement?
So support.
Attorney Harkness?
So I can just give an overview. I mean, the committee sent me, some updated terms of the city manager's new contract. It's an additional 3-year contract, in terms of modifications. Really, the only changes were, out of the severance provision, we deleted the, it used to be a tiered increase to the severance, and then, in the former contract, she topped out at the end of 36 months, so rather than doing a tiered stair step again, we just left it at where it topped out at the, end of the previous contract. The city manager's salary, was increased by the committee, roughly, just ballpark, roughly about the first year is roughly 4,000 more than it was at the end of the last contract. It increases by 4% for each of the following years, roughly $4,000 and change each year. Additionally, the city manager's retirement for the MERS defined contribution plan was increased from 7% to 10%. The PTO time remained unchanged. The one-time signing bonus was increased to $7,000. The vehicle allowance was increased to $500 a month. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, those are the only changes that we made, and the agreement is effective March 15th of 24. And as we discussed during the work session, the council is required to set the goals for the city manager within 45 days of the effective date of the agreement. So really what you're looking for is the goals have to be set for the manager by April 30th of 24.
Do you have questions or comments for either Attorney Harkness or City Manager Slater? Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes.
What did you say about the stair step? That's on the agreement.
So in the old agreement, it used to be, there was,
Go to that page, please. I mean, that section. What
So-
section is that?
it used to be section. It used to be under section 4C. And so in the old contract in 4C, it used to have different severance amounts based on how long the city manager was with the city. So it had a severance amount because that was the first contract the city manager had with the city. So it had a severance provision if she was terminated in the first 12 months, if she was terminated in 13 to 24 months, or if she was terminated in the third year. It didn't make sense to do another stair step increase, so we just left it where it topped out at the end of the third year, and we just removed the step increases. Because she was already at basically what the maximum would have been. So her severance provision in the old agreement topped out at 6 months of salary, 12 months of medical. and that's where we left it. In this agreement and didn't do another step increase because it was already maxed out.
Councilman Ray?
Yeah, has this been viewed by the finance director? So that I know that it's feasible.
The entire agreement, no, but the salary increase has been provided to the finance office, so they're aware,
Retirement as well.
yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have another question. For the negotiating agreement, I'm sorry, guys. Was the 4% increase being incentive based ever considered? Like performance based?
Councilman French?
There is a performance measure within the contract that at evaluation time, she gets a 4.0 average, she gets a bonus.
The incentive to 1,500?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Since the union contracts don't have such performance incentives in their increases, it's just negotiated flat out. We decided not to change that.
Right, I understand, the union contracts being the reference point, but we do have to understand that this is not like a union contract. Being that they supply labor in a large scale and we're bargaining with the sole person. I understand, but I just want to make sure that when we're looking at things, I would hate anybody to look at my union contract and think that it would be feasible to do that for supervision. And that's why I say this. So, just making reference to it.
Yeah,
And like I said, I asked a question and I wanted to answer. Thank you.
but also in her previous contract, her salary increase was not performance based.
I got you, but I just asked if it were or not, if it was considered or not. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2023-06.
So moved.
Report.
Attorney Harkness?
So as we discussed during the work session, we've set up a block party ordinance to address that ongoing issue that the cities have with block parties. The ordinance requires that anybody that's going to have a block party has to first obtain a permit for the city. They have to submit a completed application at least a month before the date of the proposed block party, along with the required fee. We did that to give the department heads enough time to review the application and then to ensure that it wasn't going to be sprung on the city council the day before a council meeting or something to that effect. As required by a separate ordinance, permits can't be issued to anybody who's in default with the city. So that would be unpaid utility bills, unpaid taxes, things like that. The application requires the date and time of the block party, description of the proposed location with a diagram, including what streets, if any, are going to be barricaded, name, address, telephone number of the applicant. Petition signed by at least 51% of the property owners on the streets that are requested to be closed for the block party. Copy of the applicant's homeowner's policy, or in the alternative, they can obtain a general liability policy. Application fee that the council will set via resolution. You can just add that to your annual fee approval when you do that with your budget. A signed block party agreement for the event that the city will put together separately. That'll basically just be a set of rules for having a block party. A signed attestation, which is a sworn statement that alcohol will not be sold at the block party without a license issued by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. And if they obtain such a license from the Liquor Control Commission, they have to be, it has to be supplied to the city with the application. The application is going to be reviewed by the Public Safety Department, by the Public Services Department, and the Finance Department. And assuming all those departments sign off on it, it'll get submitted to council review and potential approval. In the event any one of those departments doesn't sign off on it, the city will send a letter to the applicant informing them of the reasons for the denial. As far as street barricades, they'll be available upon request. The organizer is responsible for replacement costs if any of them are damaged during the event. In terms of street access, only local streets can be closed. We can't, do a block party in Michigan Ave or Superior Street or anything like that. It's got to be a local street. Street access cannot be closed by motor vehicles, tables, tents, trash receptacles, or anything other than a street barricade. Access has to remain available for emergency vehicles, police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, things like that. Non-participating residents must be allowed access to the property at all times. So the fact that there's a block party going on, people can't be restricted from going into their driveways if they're not participating in the block party. The hours for the block party in terms of street closures, it cannot occur earlier than 9 a.m. the day of the block party, no later than 11 p.m. The maximum number of attendees is limited to 100 persons. Block parties are required to comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, including but not limited to the city's noise ordinances. If during the event it's determined by the chief of public safety that there's the permit needs to be revoked to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens, the chief has that discretion. In terms of penalties, if somebody does a block party and they haven't obtained a permit in advance, it is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $500 in both. Any person who violates the section of the ordinance that requires access to streets is responsible for a civil infraction punishable by a fine of up to $100 per incident. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilman French.
I have just thought of a hypothetical. If someone at 101 of a block files a permit, they get 100 people, and person at 104 files another permit to do a block party. Does that mean 200 people are allowed in block? Geographical completions for that. I'm just like, we've had block parties and there's 350 people in it.
So here's your simple solution. You don't have to approve any block party.
Okay.
And so no block party shall have more than 100 block party attendees. And so if you have two people directly next to each other, I don't think we can seriously say that it's not a linked event, considering it's the block parties is we define it as a gathering of block party attendees on a public street or right of way within the neighborhood, not to exceed 2 blocks. So
Just
if that scenario were to somehow, some circumstances point out, you could just as a council say, we've already approved one for 101, we're not approving one for 102 because it would eliminate the intent of the ordinance.
Right.
What's your thought that the number should be higher?
Well, I'm not sure if 100.
Encompasses the block.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking in some areas there might be more than 100 people in a block. And so I just.
Yeah, so to that point, like when they do an event downtown.
Are those considered block parties or are they?
Those are festival. It's slightly.
Well, not the festival, but
Well, like the concerts at 420. They closed off that.
Yeah,
So I don't know, that's a block party either.
do we have exemptions for other events outside of block parties that are larger events?
I think, haven't we done those under, we got like an event permit or something that people are paying, what is the?
What do we do with
the
the
rule?
No, the brewery has a music festival.
get a permit. $500 fine on David.
Not that.
My fault.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
One thing I noticed, as I reading this a third time, a copy of, this is on 33, E, a copy of the applicant's homeowner's insurance policy or a copy of a general liability policy obtained specifically for the block party. So that basically means only homeowners can request a block party and not a renter. Do I understand that correctly?
So hypothetically, well, so there's an interesting thing there. If a renter is requesting a block party, it's gonna be dependent on whether or not their lease allows for such an event, but a renter could hypothetically add, use their renter's insurance to do it, or they could get a general liability policy. Anybody can go and get an insurance policy for for a special event. Whether they are or not. Right.
Most renters have renter, policies that's for their possessions, in the property. It doesn't have anything to do with other things.
Right, which is why they can get a general liability policy, but the idea is to minimize the exposure that the city would have when these events go on. So that people that are putting on the events are responsible and maintain the pockets if something goes wrong, not the city.
Can you reference general liability?
It should be in the same line as the homeowner's insurance.
Yeah, E.
E, I'm sorry.
Well, and somebody remind me about the time in the evening, you said that they should be shut down.
They probably do it in the line of the parks.
Yes, so it is, so
But it says 11 p.m.
no later than 11 p.m. And that, I guess you should use,
Dusk.
dusk. But that depends on if the summer.
Yeah, because dusk right now means about 5 p.m., whereas summer is 9 p.m. So,
So if somebody has like an Oktoberfest event, it wouldn't start until 5 probably.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to suggestion on the hours, because here's the good thing, I mean, in terms of, whether time or the number of attendees, I mean, you guys can start with this and see if it works, and if it's problematic, you can always change it. I mean, the big thing is to put the, the stop to the just random events popping up with no regulation whatsoever, and try to make things easier for council, one, so that what's going on, and then that at least the majority of people in the area have signed off on being okay with these events, and number two, giving the city a measure of control over these events to, make sure that they're not growing into these multi-street, multi-block, people blocking traffic and keeping people from getting into their own driveway type.
Yeah,
I think it's the beginning.
get back to the neighborhoods. When
This is
they,
pretty stringent, so chances are, 51% of the property owners on the street. Because, so it's pretty stringent, so if there is a block party. There are a lot of parameters that would apply.
There were some of those municipalities in the samples provided that required 90% of the people in the area to sign off on it. This was 50% was the least restrictive one that we found.
I think it's that.
Let's see how it goes.
That'll be a part of the application. There's gonna be an application form, there's gonna be basically an agreement that goes along with it, like a set of rules that they have to follow. And then at some point, probably what I would say too, it's not effective until December 6th. So that gives the city time to come up with the forms, and then city manager Snyder is the is the fee schedule for next year being adopted at the same time as the budget this year? So then probably it's either at your first meeting in November or your second meeting in November, you just put out, we'll just add as a discussion on what an appropriate fee would be for this. So I mean, we're gonna need to take into account the cost for the barricades and public services to come out and put those barricades, city's time, processing this stuff and. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge fee, but enough to cover the time, the staff time that's gonna be involved in doing these events. We can look at some other municipalities, see what's comparable.
We didn't have a fee at all. Yeah, I guess we didn't have a fee at all.
No,
Any other questions or comments? City Clerk Romero?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Next is our discussion on 310 Fitch Street. Councilwoman Davis had requested this be on the agenda, so I'll give the floor to her.
Yes, this is something that, as Mr. and Mrs. Bach has spoken about, has been, I guess, on the agenda several times. We're trying to reach some kind of resolution as well as understanding. So,
Ian.
is Ian?
Hey, Ian.
There's Ian.
Good. So I heard we say we were looking for some understanding.
Well, what has happened since the last presentation? I know that there was one misunderstanding regarding a parking lot versus a driveway, and he has given a diagram of what the parking area would look like, or the drop-off area would look like. We're just wondering, where does it stand now?
Gotcha. So on paper, from how things look from my end, it doesn't really stand any different because we're dealing with the hypothetical development of a property by a property owner in town after purchasing it from someone else. So I would need to for the situation that we're talking about, I would need to review a zoning application of some kind. And I've not had one made to me by an applicant working with the property owner or the property owner. So if I've been unclear other times I've been up here, there are paths forward for a lot of different kind of development options, whether on the Michigan Ave property or the 310 Fitch property, that could expand parking or access for the business there. It would just be a matter of the property owner allowing that request to our office, and that being a request that we could act on, whether that would be an administrative approval or a special use approval through the planning commission. It would kind of depend on what the applicant and the property owner wanted to do, but I'd be ready to review anything official that came my way.
Councilman French?
Can you clarify what you mean by property owner? Are you talking about the land bank owning 310? Or are you talking about the city owning 310?
I'm talking about the land bank owning 310.
Right, and from the memos that were provided to us, the land bank has a specific use that they will sell the property to.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
so unless they're gonna change their rules, we're stuck here, correct?
That is my understanding.
So whether or not Mr. Ott is able to get a driveway is predicated on the land bank changing their rules for who can have access to that property, given their investment in that property already. Is that correct?
To the best of my knowledge, that would be correct.
Or if someone purchases the property, which will change ownership.
Like the city,
Just, okay, and Mr. Ott and the new owner of the property can reach an agreement regarding sharing a driveway. Is that a possibility?
When it gets into the technical solutions of how to solve a particular problem that Mr. Ott has, it very quickly gets to I'd have to see it on paper, I'd have to weigh it to the zoning ordinance, but yeah, I think in my view, all we're missing from development happening or a zoning approval being given for that property is a request being made by an applicant or an owner with the property owner's consent if they're not.
Okay,
the owner.
so are you suggesting that maybe he submits another request?
No.
Yeah, I'm definitely not providing a suggestion.
Okay, so there was something that was overlooked in that conversation we had about this, and we did try to provide a lot more time for Mr. I and the land bank to be able to resolve the issue. But what we didn't gather from what the city manager was telling us was that the land bank was tied to funding, grant funding, for the environmental testing of that property. So they're tied to a home going on that property because of the funding they received for the environmental testing of that property. So they got the funding in order to put a home there. And that's why it ended up on our desk. And that was the thing that we just weren't necessarily aware of. It wasn't clear to us.
Right, I wasn't aware it was federal funded, in terms of.
Well, I don't know if it's federal or state, but it was funded.
It was
Yeah,
funded.
it was funded under the agreement that a home was intended on going on that property.
Councilman French.
So, well said, Councilman Williams, that's exactly what I was gonna say, but I would add the following. If Mr. Ott wants a driveway in that property, he must find somebody who is able to purchase that lot with the intent of building a house on that lot, and then be in negotiation with Mr. Ott to have a common driveway. That is the solution. So we have to find somebody who's willing to buy that lot from the land bank with the express purpose of putting a house on it through the program that we're working on, with then the understanding that a common driveway could be created on that lot. That is the solution.
Now, I gotta say, I gotta add more to that as well. City manager, were those two properties the intended properties for the Michigan mod program initially, and is that why the funding was gathered?
Yes, well, so moving forward, we selected two sites for the Michigan mod. When looking into them, one was determined to be in a floodplain. The next required additional environmental testing. So we are not able to use that site, that's per MISHDA. So we started looking around at other available lots here in town. I'm working with the land bank because they own several in our community. We selected the 2 on Fifth Street, one and 2 on Pine. So they submitted a grant application to the EPA to cover the cost for the environmental testing. The 2 on Fitch came back with clean phase 1, which means we do not need to do additional testing, that they were good to go for to build a home. So that's when we had further conversations with the land bank and kind of negotiated purchasing these 2 properties to build homes. Because as we've talked, it's in our comprehensive plan, it's a goal of council, we know that housing is in need in our community. So we have 2 clean lots, we are awarded a grant to build a home. So that's when we showed those 2 lots, when we took the tour on the city to council, that one Saturday morning, and then we brought forward the purchase agreements for both Fitch Street properties.
So unfortunately, I think we came in a little bit late in the game on this. I mean, as far as council goes, and. No.
Any other questions? So the house is going to be put on both of those lots?
Not right now, so since when we brought the original purchase agreements, we moved forward to purchase 312 Fitch. So right now, we are working to put the Mission Mod house on 312 Fitch Street. We intended to purchase both lots with the plan to build the first Mishima, and then we are eligible to apply for the next round of funding too. We already own another vacant lot right next to it. We would build another home once the first project is completed. But right now, we're looking to build one on 312 Fitch.
But at the meeting, if you recall, where we approved 312, we decided to pull 310 to be able to discuss further. Those numbers.
Yes, okay, so. Are we in violation of an agreement with the land bank that it may have? In not purchasing 310, or did we not have an agreement already?
So there was no like formal agreement, obviously we had conversations with the land bank, and when they in turn went and utilized the grant funding to do the testing on both sites. So I would say we don't move forward with putting a residential, using those properties for residential use. I would say we look, the city, we're not being good stewards to the land bank as well as the EPA. Because we've utilized a lot of grant funding through that program to do a lot of environmental testing here. So I think we would just go back, if we were to do a different use than what we've discussed, we would kind of be going back on our word. With both organizations, and I don't think that's a good tone to set.
Specifically for 310?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Because in turn, when they submitted their application to secure those grant funding, I believe they put in their application that the city of Albion intends to utilize these properties for residential purposes.
Okay, Councilman French, was that on board with what you were saying? Okay.
Any other comments on this discussion? All right, thank you.
It's not what I wanted to hear, but thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Davis.
Future agenda items.
Gotta add.
Yeah.
Motion to add. You got the verbiage on here?
It would be a motion to add an additional agenda item to authorize the city attorney to retain whichever firm you decide any possible regarding this.
Okay, a motion to add an additional agenda item. For the council to vote on council for the Oscars, the city of Albion case.
Which firm?
Just like which firm to,
No, you guys.
Peggy Schultz.
for the city of Albion to acquire the services of Baby Schultz and Baby Schultz.
Is there a support? Support. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
No,
and Mayor Steiner.
No.
So that was to add the agenda item. Now we need to have an actual vote on.
That was to add it to the
Agenda.
agenda. Not to the.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's what they both decided. Well, wasn't there a need of a supermajority for that?
not to add an agenda item.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the agenda item, not to vote on the.
Yes, that's correct.
Future agenda items.
Can we do a update, on the council vote, like a report? And I'm not sure if 2 weeks is enough time frame. If whatever's convenient or will fit your schedule, we can figure that out. It doesn't have to be 2 weeks, but, just an update on, what the council votes are, any progress that we've made so far on that.
Any other councils? Or I'm sorry, future agenda items? So Attorney Harkness and myself and City Manager Snyder have been receiving citizen complaints about ethic violations. So part of this process is that we have to respond within 30 days of getting those requests to be dealt with. So at the next council meeting, we will address those issues. Councilman First.
I also have been receiving those complaints, just so to be included in the comments. We've received comments from a number of citizens saying that the city council has violated its ethics by terminating members of the EDC board. And so we've been asked to take action, to make a statement, to address the elephant in the room about whether or not we have violated our code of conduct of the ethics as a city council, overstepping our authority as city council persons and taking up the business of the EDC. All right?
Around other issues, yes.
No.
Councilman Reed.
Well, I was in Dollar Tree yesterday when there was a person that was talking about the city manager and how, well, then it was not, they did not say city manager, they said city council. And how we were not doing our job because of the streets and the stuff that's supposed to be getting done, that's not getting done. And things that they have brought to council that they wanted to see taken care of, did not get it taken care of. And I just would like for them to know that it is not the city council. We do not, I don't have the right to tell a person of the city that something cannot be done or can be done. That's the city manager's fault. So, I mean, job to do. So maybe we should have more than just what we're talking about now about the vote with the EDC, so that the city will know who the person is that they need to talk to. Because I said to them, listen, the city council does not tell the people in the city what to do. That's the manager's job. So, you know, maybe we should just have a all-out conversation about it.
Or maybe what we should do is stop participating in these microaggressions, this game of reputation destruction, innuendo, and gossip. But
Show us what it was about today as well.
Any other agenda items?
Do this right.
Public comments. Is there anybody within the gallery that would like to stand and address council? You may do so at this time, in 3 minutes of course.
And Terry, I'm Nancy Raphael. After listening to everything that said first, I wanted to say that this is just going to be a driveway, not a parking lot. It wasn't going to create any problems anywhere. Also, the land bank told me they were just waiting if there was zoning possibilities that they would release the land to me. There doesn't seem to be any working here with that. I acted in good faith also with the land bank on 2 other occasions, and it got things done for them, and they didn't act in good faith with what they're doing. So now to act in good faith with them, what you're saying is, it would have been very nice if when this property first came up, if somebody would say, hey, you know what? We've got somebody in town that needs this property. We're not going to act on this property. We're gonna help out people in this town and support our people in this town, and we're gonna make this work. And that would have been a very nice thing to have happened. Didn't happen in this case. I wish it would have, but it didn't. You know, I've got a lot of handicapped people and other people that have a tough time getting down there, and I'm just not, I don't see any sense in this. This just doesn't make zero sense to me. And as far as the funding goes with this property, I understand that there have been no soil samples taken. There have been nobody on the property taking soil samples. All they did was look up and see what had been on the property previously to that. So the amount of money that they have tied up in this can't be very much. I mean, you look up and see what was put on their property before 1920. Big deal. There are a lot of land bank owns 40 some other properties in this town. Put a house up on one of those. This is helping somebody that's already here and helping citizens of this town here that supported this town for 50, 60, 70 years, and now they need a little bit of help getting into a building at a rear entrance. Isn't that the least we can do for these people? Some of these people have had businesses that comforted us in our hours of need when we really needed company, and they need help now. And this is not gonna create a traffic problem. Sorry, I didn't turn off. A traffic problem, because all this is gonna be is for a handicap accessible area. A driveway for that. So 3-4 times a day, there may be a car come or go. It's not gonna create a traffic issue. And it seems to me that to help people in this town, to support people that are in this town, we should try to find a way to get this done. Not just say, you know, let's do what the land bank wants. Somebody that doesn't even have any interest in this town and let them control what goes on in our town. Somebody should speak up and say, not in our town, we're gonna support our people. And this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna take care of them. Not just somebody that's gonna come in maybe and buy one house. We've got 5 families that depend upon our income in this building, and plus a lot of people that come in and out of there. How about let's support them? If that house doesn't go through on 310 Fish, so what? Let's support the people in our town and have their backs. We've had everybody else's backs when people came down here trying to get other people's job and getting fired. We came down and supported that. Now let's get some support in return. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address council? All right, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A copy of my report is included in the packet. Just a few things I would like to highlight. I did share via email with you all that our letter of intent for Michigan's Chill program was approved or met the requirements. So they have asked that we submit a full application. It is due, I believe, November 13th. So we are working to get that completed. There will be several webinars and conditions just to go over questions that we may have and guide us through that process. Since this is a CDBG program, it does require a public hearing, so we will make sure that it's scheduled before the application deadline. We had a first work session for the budget last Wednesday, October 11th. The next study session will be on Monday, October 23rd, where we will review all of the remaining funds. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact myself or Finance Director Clark. I think our first session went well. And just want to share, I will be out of office tomorrow through Friday, attending the MML Convention Conference in Traverse City. Have you answered any questions? Oh, one other thing, I did receive notice from the county. So they are moving forward with the staff, creating the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County, or TAP. So the city of Albion, we will have 1 seat on that board. We need to provide the county commission with the council's recommendation on who will serve in that seat by November 8th. That is their next meeting. So if you know of anyone who's interested in serving there, you'll need to bring forward an appointment for our November 6th meeting. When I talked with Doug Farrell with Calhoun County, he did say whoever fills a seat just put this out there, that this first year will be really demanding on that board, because they're really getting the Transportation Authority established. So they will determine the millage rate, how it functions and all of that. So there will be a lot of time involved in this first year. So just want to put that out there if you know of anyone who may serve as a good person to fill this role. So I will look forward to that recommendation at our first November meeting. That is all.
Council member comments.
I would like to give an update regarding the smoke detectors, from the presentation that we had at the last council meeting. We have a meeting here and it was very well attended. 20 to 30 people were here. And now I would like to give each council member a coalition sign up for smoke detectors. Right now, they have coming, 108 smoke detectors and 48 carbon monoxide detectors. Our next meeting is going to be on October 24th, and it's going to be a work session. They're going to certify installers for the smoke detectors as well as the seal detectors. And then those people are only the people who will be eligible to install the smoke detectors. So I would like for each council person to take at least a sheet to start gathering names in terms of in your precinct, the home address, email, or telephone number, and the number of detectors that they would like to have. We can have as many as we want at this stage of the game. It is recommended that each bedroom in the home should have a smoke detector as well as each level. So if you have the attic, if you have the basement, you will add, so you may get 8 smoke detectors, depending on the size of your house. But this is a citywide initiative, and as many as we need. We have someone who's working specifically with Albion, and Albion is a model city right now in the state. So when they make presentations and when they sell the product or sell the initiative, Albion is on the map, because we're the first city that have started doing this as a city, not as a little group in the city, but this is citywide. And I told them that I would try to work with the other precinct representatives to fill the sheets, you know, get as many as we want. But this is a viable 10-year lithium battery that is different from what we usually buy. So this is a 10-year lithium battery that is supported by the state, that is purchased by the state and installed by installers who have received the training. So this is what I would like for you to do. Yes, sir.
How many CO detectors perhaps? Do you have that number?
I don't have that number. I can get that number.
It's, yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Is it one per house? Is it, you know, level things?
Right, right. They didn't say anything about the levels in terms of CO, but the levels in the individual bedrooms for the smoke detectors. But I can call to see what is recommended, and then I can send out a memo regarding what is recommended.
One of the base for your furnace. That's where the exhaust would be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
How many people are you hoping to get trained?
There were about 20 to 25, 20 to 30 people here last week who said we were interested in getting trained. I'm going to send out another email blast to say, if you would like to be trained, please come. And we had initially said the fire department, because we can spread them out and they can do, and then they're going to actually install a couple. I don't, someplace around, but they looked in this room and said, maybe we can come up here and install. I don't know. But I know Edward Jones has an office. I don't know if they could, you know, practice on installing there or someplace in this area, because the people are going to be in this area. If we can walk through a place to see the actual installation. But I'm expecting everyone who were at the meeting last week said that they're interested in installing. We're contacting landlords as well, senior citizen site, group homes. So if they're interested in those, they can be trained to install, or they can get someone that was here last week to install.
Awesome.
Great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely important work, and I'm not sure if everybody heard of the important news that happened in Kalamazoo just last week, where a house fire took the lives of a few children.
That's right, in Kalamazoo.
Yes, in Kalamazoo. So definitely this is important work, and if we can save more residents, yeah, it's invaluable.
So next week on the 24th, which is Tuesday, he's going to get there around 5:30. We're going to have the training. We're going to look at, because the data that they're collecting from the installations, he's going to walk us through that, as well as the installation of one cell or a couple. Maybe a CO and a smoke detector.
Okay. Any other council member comments? Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
So I would like for you and Andy to elaborate what you guys talk about fire tactics or whatever you're talking about for the next meeting.
We have received, like I said, emails that council members have violated ethics. So when that comes forth, we have to address that.
Say that again, I didn't hear.
Again, with the emails that we received from a few different citizens, that they have concerns that council members had violated ethics. So we have to address that. It is mandatory that we address that. Any other council member comments? Go ahead.
Oh, I have one other comment. The bench outside that was put there in honor of Blanche Wilson has not had any kind of update, in terms of the wood painting or
Right out
anything.
here.
The one in front of I think can something be done about that?
Is it outside or the one right here?
It's outside.
Okay.
Blanche Wilson was the first person, I think, almost to get a bench in Albion, and it's outside of City Hall. So it's looking pretty rugged right now, so it needs kind of an update to that.
Any other council member comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned, 8:07 PM.
Oh.